Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Fade to Black Cinema. I'm Michael, your Bougie Black Brother, and I'm here with my co-host, Alicia.
Hello.
And we're back from seeing one of our favorite characters, and what's wrong is dun 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 dun. Yeah, so it is Godzilla. So this one is Godzilla King of the Monsters. So Alicia suggested, well, she didn't suggest it. She said, guess what I looked at? I watched a good Godzilla movie this weekend. And I was like, but I didn't even get to see it yet. She said, well, it's the old one. I was like, yeah, that's the first one. So there was a Godzilla movie that was pretty much Japanese Godzilla, or I think it's Godzilla. If you see it and you look it up, you see it under either Godzilla or Godzilla. But the real original one was with Raymond Burr. Who's Raymond Burr?
Chief Ironside.
Chief Ironside.
Chief Ironside.
So it was interesting because we wanted to see that. And then the new one, Godzilla King of the Monsters, is a remake of the Godzilla King of the Monsters. That one was, I think it was 1958.
Yeah, 1954, 1950 is between
1956.
Okay.
Was the original King of the Monsters, which introduced us to King Ghidorah. But if you go around in the black neighborhoods, they say King Ghidorah, and so we just named it of our own. And so again, this is something that we did on what, baby? When do we used to see these movies?
When we were little kids. When we were in like elementary school. Like, what is it? Elementary school, middle school?
Elementary, middle school.
Yeah. About that time. Okay, yeah.
So, it was cool because we saw it like on Saturday mornings.
Yes.
And if we didn't see them on Saturday mornings, we watched the karate movies or the kung fu movies. Depends on how you determine it. So we was always able to see these black and white movies of these Japanese creatures and Japanese and Chinese kung fu. So we were huge fans, and we continue to look at it over the years. And then it was a fade out period, and as you know, there was other actual Godzilla movies that came out that didn't do as well. But the previous one, done by, I think, the same director. Was it the same director that did this one, baby, or was it a different director?
I think it was the same director.
But so the first Godzilla that came out, I think it was 3 years ago. We decided that, well, we loved that one.
Yeah.
We loved that one. That was a really good way to introduce people back to Godzilla. It was a dark movie. It was really kind of unique. Well, it was 2014, so it was 5 years ago. Wow, man, that took a while. Mm-hmm. But it was Gareth Edwards that was the director for that one, and I really like that guy. He done some. He did Rogue One, which I really like. But we were introduced to him and Monsters, and it was a movie that actually was a guy bringing a girl back from Mexico through the lines, and there was like creatures everywhere, but they never really gave you too much of a close-up of it, but they had military lines and whatever. But it was a really smart movie, and the way he did it was really good. So when they gave him the opportunity to do Godzilla, it just worked out really, really well. But so I was really, really pleased with the way this one turned out, and the director of this one was Michael Dougherty. Never heard of that guy. He's a writer. This was his first opportunity to do some directing, so good for him. But anyway, so we decided to go see this, and did you remember? So we saw King of the Monsters, the old one, after we saw this movie. So did you see the comparisons in that? It was a little sillier, but did you follow this?
The
new one.
I mean, what do you mean by follow it? Okay.
Well,
so
I mean,
okay.
let me define that. Let me define
follow.
how did you follow it. So the first one and the second one had nothing to do with each other. So they just did it in a whole separate way. But this one was a complete storyline of let me read it. The cryptozoology agency Monarch faces off against a battery of god-sized monsters, including the mighty Godzilla, who collides with Mothra, Rodan, and the ultimate nemesis, the three-headed King Ghidorah. Well, I'll say King Ghidorah, like everybody says. And that's all it says. So this was easy. It was simple. So to make it easy for you, you can come to the movies and just see this one. It didn't matter what the first one was about, because if you follow the first one, you would have got it. But if you would have just saw this on its own, it was just as good. So
I mean, it's like watching. Okay, so since we've been watching Godzilla since we were young, it didn't matter what order Godzilla came in. It was just watching Godzilla.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, even though there was a Godzilla before this, I didn't care because I was watching, it's Godzilla! And it was all the other creatures. And even though the storyline was kind of like, like the 50s, it still was awesome seeing it.
So I just thought it was a good way of bringing it forward into a modern perspective. The older one was, nuclear bombs distorting them and going from that. So it made these creatures come about. And then when not Destroy All Monsters, but King of the Monsters, actually the older one, 1956 one, they already established themselves in movies prior to that. So when they showed up, it was, oh, we know who that is. That's Mothra. Oh, we know who that is. That's Rodan. But if you didn't know them, you would have been like, whoa, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. But in this one, they just introduced them like they just appeared out of nowhere, which is good, because the whole concept is these gods or creatures were hidden under the ground until something called them forward. And once Godzilla and these other creatures came from the previous movie, that caused this chain reaction and going from that. But overall, I just thought it was exciting. It was good to see the battling of the creatures. The way they was doing things, they was trying to follow him all over the world. Some was in South America, some was in all over the place. Mm-hmm. But here's one thing that some people caught, but other people didn't. They were showing, hey, where's all these creatures coming from? And they showed the back of one creature that we didn't get to see in this movie, but they showed King Kong walking through the trees. And I was like, oh my God, King Kong versus Godzilla is coming. Oh my God, it's King Kong. So it was so cool, because that's a movie too. They already had one long time ago, King Kong versus Godzilla. So there was pretty much Japanese versus America, but even though King Kong came from Africa, but that was the concept from that. So it was really, really cool. And the action was really set. Like Alicia said, I mean, you can say it better than me. I mean, what did you think when I was saying the acting was bad?
Acting was awful, but the movie was good. I'm sorry. Had to say it that way, because Michael knows that it was just exciting. Godzilla is not supposed to be a great acting movie.
Nope.
It's not supposed to be. It never was. It's never going to be. It's supposed to be this, how we watched it was when they were talking in Chinese, they dubbed it with English.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was one of those things that you was just like you see in the movies, how the kids sit with their elbows underneath their chin and they got their laying on their stomachs with their feet up. That's what we did. We watched it. We didn't care. And that's how Godzilla should be. That's how it always should be. Because if they were really going to make it good, I don't think it would be good if they made it good.
No, it would have been. It's just, it's writing. It's all about writing, and then can the director bring an image about that you can be able to enjoy. I gave you another example. Another one of a good movie, like besides the previous Godzilla, was the new Kong movie. The new Kong Skull Island. That was awesome. It was funny. It was odd, and it really felt like what the monster movies should be like. Was it great acting and everything? No, but that wasn't the purpose of it. And I'm thinking if you're looking for a great storyline, that makes sense, and it don't supposed to make sense.
No.
You got creatures that was frozen that comes out and they was destroying cities. And at first I was like, wait a minute, they destroyed DC, they destroyed wait a minute, that don't supposed to happen. But if you remember the Godzilla movies always destroyed Tokyo.
Yep.
Tokyo always got destroyed. Didn't really matter. Cities were always destroyed. So then it came to me when I was watching the older films that since it's in America, you have to destroy these cities. It has to actually happen. It can't be like, well, let's go to Wyoming and the creatures will fight out there. No. We need for them to fight in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Follow me to New York. No, this time they went to Boston, remember?
Yeah, they went
because
to
they was in the stadium.
Yep.
The Wrigley's Field. And so they was in Boston just tearing up some shit. And it was like, it was exciting and it was awesome. So really, really, really great film, exciting film. So if you just want the excitement, then this is one of the films to see. I mean, that's just it. Well, any other thoughts on it though, baby?
Nah, I like I said, I love the movie. I'm a big fan of Godzilla. That's all. That's all I can say.
So what was your rating?
Okay, so don't be mad at me, y'all, because I kind of love the movie. So I gave it an 8.
So I'm going to have to kind of agree with you. And the reason why I would agree with you is even though I enjoyed it, I really enjoyed the first Godzilla movie because it introduced us back to Godzilla. And I was so excited by that. And it was a lot more dramatic. This one was good because it was exciting and the way they created the creatures was really cool. But I'm gonna have to agree with Alicia. I think an even 8 is a good score, but it's a movie that I would always see again.
Yes, say that again.
So
we will see this over and over.
So I'm saying an 8, and not really. I could say an 8.25, but I'm saying an 8 because it's not the one that I will keep looking for to see. But if I see, Godzilla's on, that's the new one, I'll put it on.
Yep, turn it on. Well,
as opposed to like a John Wick, if I pass by, I'm like, oh man, I want to see John Wick again. That's a movie that is a high rating one that I always want to go see or turn on or whatever. But this one is a really, really good movie. And I know Alicia will sit there and we'll watch this over and over and over again. So a good 8. Most of the critics got it at 6, 7.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't rate it as high. I'm okay with their rating because my rating is 6, 7. So my rating is an 8. Theirs, Facebook is a 3.6 out of 5. So their percentage is pretty high. It's over average. So it's rated high across the book, but a very good movie. Well worth seeing. And that's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So catch us on Fade to Black Cinema every Wednesday. Every Wednesday we check it out and we get to review either movies or TV shows or TV movies, etc., etc., etc. Got a couple of other TV movies that we're finishing off that we really thought was really interesting and wanted to talk about as well. So look forward to that because I think that's worth listening to and possibly getting your input. So Fade to Black Cinema, catch us on bougieblackbrother.com for the download or all podcast downloads you can find us. So really, really interesting and good to see. And that's all I got. Any last word?
No, not bad. No.
So we'll see you next Wednesday on Fade to Black Cinema. See ya.